We need to know that the changes we're making in some way improve things for us. We've got to find something we connect to, some advantage. The problem is often we end up talking all about the work that's required and all the effort we're going to have to make, but we're not spending enough time on what's in it for me. Why will this be a good thing for me to do? And it's hard to feel interested in our work when it doesn't have a defined set of improvements and advantages. This neurohack is a simple, structured mind mapping technique. It helps us very quickly think through almost a linear or logical progression of, well, if that good thing happens, then this good thing happens, then this good thing happens. And we start to create a chain of events that leaves us feeling excited and positive and feeling really good about adopting a new way of working. What we want to do is think about an element of the change. Try not to be too big in your thinking, because that's where it's a bit too unspecific and it's hard to get excited. So think about one element of the change that is changing. Ask yourself why that's going to be helpful. What positive difference, what advantage will that offer you? And then repeat it for that particular element and go, well, if that good thing happens, what's good about that? It's a lot easier if I show you. So in this example, taking a really simple aspect of a change, and it's so common, it probably resonates with a lot of you. We're going to do some work to remove some steps from the process. We're streamlining. Now, that might be because we've implemented a new platform that's automated some of our previous work. Perhaps we've changed how we deal with customers or the products that we offer, and we can take away some of the things we were filling in, some of the templates we were using, some of the data we were collecting. But in some way, we will have fewer steps in the process. So what? Well, so that means it'll be easier to understand the process, which means it'll be easier to remember it, which means it's easier to learn, which means it's easier to train. Well, so what? Well, that means training will cost less. So what? Well, that reduces costs overall. When you've got to sort of the end of the stream, and probably those big ticket items, those bigger kind of benefits, like reducing the cost or increasing the revenue, when you get to the end, come back and now try and look at it through a different lens. So maybe you've looked at it through the lens of it's a better way of working, it's easier to do. Maybe you then want to start to think about maybe the advantages for customers or the advantages for colleagues, or that it makes sense, or it's future-proofing what you do. You feel like you're at the cutting edge now, that it's not bureaucratic anymore, you're not wasting time. Just come back and have another go. Think of it from a different perspective. So in this case, I've started to think, well, if there are fewer steps in the process, then there's probably going to be fewer errors. We've said it's easier to understand and easier to remember. So there's probably going to be fewer errors. That means there's going to be less rework, which means there's a lower cost of rework. I don't have to do something and then redo it, which is incredibly inefficient. And therefore, overall, that reduces costs. So that was a nice, simple one. But again, it's given me that, yeah, we probably won't make as many mistakes. That's going to feel good. So already I'm starting to think of the benefits. Of course, if there's fewer errors, also, that's an increase in my productivity and the value that I'm creating every day, which, of course, gives us another type of benefit, which is increased revenue. And then think about, well, speed. You know, if there's fewer steps, surely it's going to be quicker to complete the process. Well, that's going to add to the increased productivity. So that's going to lead to increased revenue. But also it means I can get things out quicker to the customer, whether that's the end customer or an internal customer, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get something out to them. And of course, If it's an external customer, that means quicker payment, and that means increased revenue. If I get things out to the customer quicker, I've got greater customer satisfaction. Customers buy more, increase sales, and that will lead to increased revenue. There's no perfect answer to this. This is just a brainstorming technique. And it's very simple. Every time you think of one positive, you ask yourself, so what? Why is that a good thing? And then you think of the next good thing in the chain until you get to the end, and then you come back over again. It really helps, I think, to get in the mood for benefits hunting, which is what this is. So I've written a guidance note called the benefits map, and that's also explained in the This Is Great neurohack. I've also got a benefits assessment questionnaire that you can fill in to just generate some ideas about potential benefits and get yourself in the mood. This doesn't guarantee that we won't think of disadvantages, but what this does do is it helps us focus much more on finding the benefits. And it's a simple technique that users around the world have fallen in love with.